Hello, everybody.
I was waiting for you to do something around here. No, I'm kidding. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're listening to or watching this, or if you're live with us, it's noon, it's Thursday, and it's caucus time. Sorry. You started, so I figured it was my job to do that.
Okay, whatever. Well, usually that's the lead up. You say it's noon, it's Thursday, and then you look at me and I say...
It's noon, it's Thursday.
It's caucus time.
Okay.
It's not the same if we have to do it over. You robbed me.
I'm sorry that I robbed you. At least I don't charge you taxes. That's just, worse theft.
Blatant thievery.
Blatant thievery. Oh, boy. Welcome on into Unauthorized Caucus, everyone. It is a big week. There's a lot of stuff going on. Actually, next week, by the way, housekeeping, we're not going to have an episode next week. We'll be out in New Jersey. We've got Eagle Council going on, Eagle Council 53. Side note, if you're listening to this live, today is the final day to buy tickets for that before you can no longer put your name on the list. So head to eaglecouncil.com. If you're watching, buy your ticket now. If you can't make it, that's fine. There will be a lot of media around it, I'm assuming, but it's not the same as being there, and it certainly won't be the entire program. So if you can, and if you want to, get the tickets today. Otherwise, today, Thursday, August 8th, you're not going to make it. So we'll look forward to seeing you there if you're joining us. Otherwise, unauthorizedcaucus.com, get all the goodies. That's where we post our episodes every week. The podcast is there, all the show notes and the things. This is the new thing. It's our Substack. So you subscribe there, you'll get a notification. You'll get bombarded with multiple emails, just the one. You'll get our redacted stuff, which, it's all of our show notes that we have in preparation. And all the other things over there. Yeah. You'll get a notification, find our socials. You can subscribe to us on Rumble, YouTube, for as much as that's worth and as long as it lasts. X, Facebook.
Yep, and we might have plans for the occasional actual article or essay on the Unauthorized Caucus Substack page.
That's right.
You do not want to miss that because we're not going to live stream an essay. That's not how essays work.
No. So we've got ideas. After we get through Eagle Council and into the fall time, early fall, like late August, September, we've got some ideas that we'd like to expand that. If you've noticed, the Pro-America Report is changing. Ed's program's gone to a Rumble show primarily, and then it comes out podcast and radio, all that afterwards. So there's a lot of different tweaking that's going on. Stay tuned. Make sure you're subscribed if you're not already, because there's good things. But this week has been, quiet, should we say?
More so than previous weeks.
Yeah, no, really. I mean, no one got almost assassinated or resigned, but it really actually hasn't been that quiet.
Yeah.
But there's two things we wanted to talk about today. We may keep this a little on the short side because we really do have council deadlines and we're working our way toward being in New Jersey. But two things, one of which is all over the news, but needs to be distilled maybe, talking about Tim Walz, Kamala Harris's VP choice. That, of course, this is just endlessly on your screens if you have 24/7 cable news turned on. If you do, I apologize. Turn it off. It's terrible. But we can actually get into a few of those things and what it really means. Cut through some of the clutter on both sides of the narrative because it's all narrative. It's all programming. We're going to talk about the truth. But another less known topic needs to be discussed this week. And one that may have vital implications. You want to start there or should we start with Tim Walz?
Let's start with Tim Walz.
And then move
Let's
in?
save the other fun topic for a little bit later in the program.
I love it when we tease people. It's exciting. It's like they haven't already read the description and know what we're about to talk about.
It's not like it's in the title or anything.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Tim Walz, governor of Minnesota, did this surprise? This kind of part of me was surprised because I expected a more politically expedient choice for her this year. I don't think Tim Walz represents that. I'm not surprised that he's a raging leftist. Yeah. I am surprised that it's not a more palatable electoral thing that they would hook on to Kamala Harris to try to have since she's the nominee now.
Right.
Like
maybe somebody a little bit more moderate. Maybe somebody that's not, maybe a Democrat, a liberal, like an honest-to-God Democrat.
Appearance of moderate.
Yeah, but just like an honest-to-God Democrat that's not like a rabid leftist like he is. He's a freak. He is an absolute freak.
Yeah. His opinions and governance has been wildly extreme on the left. You would have thought, and again, Josh Shapiro is not exactly what I'd call moderate. Neither is Andy Beshear in Kentucky or a few of the other names that were floated. But they're from battleground states or they're from more Midwestern areas or kind of the Rust Belt. There was some appeal, or at least perceived appeal, that could bring to Kamala Harris, the California liberal. Tim Walz is actually crazier than her, quite possibly. Yeah. I mean, that's a... Don't make me put money on that one.
Right.
Both of them are in a league all of their own on the crazy leftist scale.
But he's got an indicting track record.
Yes.
Yes, there's a lot of good things to hit on that people have been hitting on, and I think that the Trump-Vance campaign can continue to hit on. I mean, there's his stolen valor with his
That's a big one.
Deserting his military service. I mean, and Vance was a Marine.
And see that.
know,
So
that's
Right.
a big difference right there.
And this came out last week. So stolen valor. First of all, typically what we mean by that is someone misrepresenting themselves as having served when they didn't, or potentially misrepresenting their service. This is the latter, misrepresenting your service. Now, almost more than that, because it depends. When you go through, and I could play all the clips, but we're not going to play every single one of them. He talked about at different points, truthfully in the past. He was in the Minnesota National Guard. Now, by the way, in case you're not super familiar, Tim Walz he was in the U.S. House of Representatives, Minnesota's 1st District, from 2007 to 2019 is when he served. And then he ran for governor in 2018. He ran for governor in 2018. So he's been the governor of Minnesota since January of 2019, oversaw COVID and everything else, which, by the way, I saw a few people ask me that question. What do you mean he oversaw COVID? If I saw him in a gubernatorial debate in 2022, he was the incumbent. He's been there since 2019. So everything that happened in Minnesota, George Floyd era, burning down the cities of this pretty leftist state, that all hangs around his neck. A responsibility for it and for doing something or not, and all of the laws that happened around that. Tim Walz was the governor of Minnesota during this time. So that's a kind of a background. He's been a public figure for a while. But before then, he served in the Minnesota State Guard from about 1981 all the way through 2005. But when he left, and why he left, or suspiciously why he left, that's the key that we're talking about here. Because he's given, I'm not some crazy anti-gunner, and I know what it is, and the weapons of war that I carried, in the Middle East are exactly what he said. I forgot, but it made it sound like he went into a combat zone.
Right, well, people shouldn't be allowed to have the weapons that I used in war.
That's right.
And Vance was like, what weapons did
What
you use
war?
in war?
Which, it turns out, he was, in fact, with the Minnesota National Guard. He was part of a field artillery regiment. And the field artillery regiment, they had security, apparently, that they provided on a deployment that he at least one deployment that he served on, between Turkey to England and all across Europe. He was in Italy. So that doesn't diminish his service. He served, and he deployed, but it wasn't exactly a combat zone.
Right.
Which is very much what he is. I don't think he's actually said, I'm a combat veteran.
Right.
But it's been pretty close, and it misrepresents. But and bottom line though, he left his unit, walked out, and there's a few videotapes too of guys from his unit talking about this. He left when it was well known that they were about to be deployed to Iraq. The letter had been circulated, the information was known, and that's when he chose to leave. And a lot of his guys are saying a senior non-commissioned officer, sergeant, corporal, that structure before you get to the officers, lieutenant or ensign, and on up. Senior NCOs don't just leave at this timing. It's uncommon at best. It's cowardly at worst. It's uncommon at best. Very suspicious. And he left, and it was pretty well known that they were about to ship out to Iraq.
Right.
So now we're into the realm of not draft dodger, but deployment dodger.
Right.
We've seen that before, and it doesn't ever go well for a presidential candidate. Oh, it did for Bill Clinton, but
yeah,
John Kerry, not so much.
Right.
And John Kerry, you'll all remember, faced who? Chris LaCivita, who is Trump's campaign manager at the moment.
Yeah.
Chris LaCivita was behind the Swift Boat Kerry ads, which I think were a big part of tanking John Kerry's credibility on his war record, quote unquote.
So I think they have a good idea of how to hit him, which is why Trump truthed out, "Thank you!" ! Right after Kamala announced who she picked for a running mate.
You want what? I've heard a lot of nicknames this week, but what? That's a new one.
Kamala.
Kamala?
That's what Trump is calling her now.
Kamala?
Kamala.
Kamala.
With a B.
With a B.
Kamala.
Why are we saying Kamala?
Because it's funny.
Okay.
I've seen
Kamala
Obungo.
and a few others. Obungo, okay.
Yeah.
Well, so here's the thing. The deployment dodger, that's going to strike a chord with a lot of people. That doesn't play well with anyone across the political spectrum, except maybe the most rabid leftists who don't want there to be a military. But then they hate him for being in the military, perhaps. So who knows? It's just you can't win with that side.
It's called cognitive dissonance.
Yes, it is. It is called cognitive dissonance. There is one though. Specifically, I saw a clip that I don't know if I could say it. Tim Walz does not believe in free speech. and he did serve as a governor through the COVID era. So I think, not only all of these millstones already of Minnesota burning, which, by the way, what was it, Build Back Better, now has been turned in the Trump campaign, Burn Back Better, and they've got Harris and Walz standing in front of the burning Arby's in Minnesota. And,
right.
Fists raised for BLM versus Trump's fist raised. There's a lot of comparisons that are going to be very sharp. But he does not believe in free speech under certain circumstances. Did you see this clip?
No.
No? Okay, let me get this rocking and rolling here because this is a biggie, I think.
I think we need to push back on this. There's no guarantee to free speech on misinformation or hate speech, and especially around our democracy.
Is it going?
It did. Hold on. Let me we didn't hear that. Mason did not hear it. Let me replay it.
It's playing for the viewers.
I know, you all heard it.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. Let me hit this again real quick. Yeah, I know, okay. Play. Oh, for crying out loud. Hold on, we'll do this one more time so Mason can hear it.
I could just lip read if it comes down to
You
it.
could just lip read. I don't want to make you lip read a communist.
I think we need to push back on this. There's no guarantee to free speech on misinformation or hate speech, and especially around our democracy.
There you go. There is no misinformation on hate. There is no free speech on misinformation or hate speech when it comes to our democracy. Free speech literally exists to protect the fringy stuff that is outside the mainstream, which is why I reject the premise of hate speech altogether. There is no. Now, there are threats. There's already legal consequences for threats, for disruptive behavior. You're not allowed by code or by law already to stand up in a movie theater and yell fire and cause public chaos and disturbance. You're not allowed to threaten someone's life and get away with it. Those things aren't covered by free speech before the concept of hate speech ever hit the market.
Right.
Those exist. But otherwise, that's exactly why free speech is there, to question a narrative, to ask or espouse different facts and let the issue play out, or to say something that seems hateful and derogatory or wrong to some of us. But guess what? It's your right to say their words. Now, if that word becomes a threat, or if it becomes there's already an issue. There's already something in law to deal with that.
Right.
So that's why I reject the hate speech thing from the get-go, because it really is a propaganda, narrative-driven thought speech thing.
Right.
Or thought crime. Not a hate crime.
Yeah.
It's a thought crime that they're putting in. But this is what he espouses as the current governor of a state. You don't have free speech if it's misinformation. Well, who defines that? Or hate speech. Well, who defines that?
Right. It's always the government. What he's saying is that the government should have the ability to fine you or put you in prison if you said in 2020, I don't know about this vaccine stuff. I'm skeptical of this. And now they're putting warning labels on the vaccines for the same things that social media banned people for saying in 2020. They're saying, well, one of them even had to, the long name company had to even pull their vaccine. Like, you can't get it anymore. I don't even remember which one it was. But I know people who got that vaccine, and now Pfizer has increased risks of myocarditis in the little paper that comes with the vaccine.
Right.
Nobody reads that paper.
No one gets it.
Yeah.
It comes out of the package, and they come and do the inoculation for you, which that's not even the right word, the shot. They come and do the shot for you. They don't hand you that paper. Excuse me, would you like to read the risks, page?
Right.
No one does that.
Right. We were banned from social media in 2020 for saying these things. You weren't allowed to talk. Some people were, maybe not for this, but for a lot of similar things, debanked and, shut out from society for saying things that now Pfizer is admitting, okay, yeah, this was true. And, but the whole legal structure around vaccines is set up so we can't ever get any recompense from them, or the social media companies for that matter. And same for, Black Lives Matter. They were saying in 2020, white silence is violence. And I think we need to remember this line. This is what they were saying, and it's not like they changed their minds. The most radical on the left actually believe this. If you were not full-on anti-racist, pro-BLM, all the way like, oh, we need reparations, that is violence. They view that as violence.
And I mean, this
free speech doesn't cover violence. So if they can say this is violence, that means, okay, well, in not posting that little black square on Instagram, you remember that when everybody posted the black square, and not posting that, you have been silent, which means you have been violent towards the less fortunate among you, which means you now have to go to prison. That's what that means. That's what Tim Walz wants. That's what Kamala wants. And I don't think that that's good to have in the federal government.
No, and I mean, this is, to your point, into what we were just talking about a minute ago. It's like Tim Walz read George Orwell and took the wrong, he did not understand who the hero and the anti-hero were.
Right. It's like, wow, this is a good idea.
Yeah, exactly. He was, oh, this is a fantastic blueprint. Well, that's exactly what you people are doing, because that's exactly what this is. We all know, we've seen it. There is no such thing as just, well, we can be quiet, I don't have to agree. No, that's the part. And it's always this way. It has always been in this PC world, really in this Marxist critical theory world. The progression is we just want to be left alone, but that's never it. Well, we just want to be accepted. I need you to not do anything against us, but that's never it. Well, now you need to accept us, and if not, you just need to be quiet. Well, that's never it. Now you have to embrace us and agree with us verbally. You're not allowed to be quiet. It always progresses every single time. And that's exactly what he is espousing. It's the farthest left admission right now in public you can get of exactly how this propaganda machine works. You must agree with and repeat what we say, or you're out. You can't even be silent. And that it kind of sounds like the beginning, oh, well, you just can't say these things. No. It very quickly becomes, well, you have to say these things.
Right.
That's where it always goes. This represents literally the most radical of the left that they could find, and they coupled him with Kamala Harris. It really is. There's a track record that's going to have to be talked about here, and you and I and Mason, we're going to have to discuss what this means for America. If this is even an option on the table, it's very deadly.
Right.
Very deadly. So I know that they're talking ad nauseum on the news, but we need to understand very specifically some of the key things that make him, in my mind, ineligible to be in government at all.
Yeah.
And this is my ideal government. I know how it works now. We have a lot of work to do, but there's a lot of reality. There's a lot of, what's Ed say? There's a lot of there. I mean, that's not just Ed. There's a lot of there.
Right.
And we need to be doing well, not just talking about why Tim Walz is so bad, blah, blah, blah. No. He's espousing this. This is antithetical to everything that is America.
Right. So let's hit those key points before we move on to the next subject. Tim Walz is a deployment dodger, murky about his record. He is against free speech. He wants to criminalize misinformation and hate speech, that he will decide on what that is. Tim Walz was pro the 2020 riots. He allowed those to happen. There's lies out there that Trump was okay with that. He wasn't. He wanted him to deploy the National Guard, and Tim Walz didn't. So he's pro that, whereas Kamala at the same time was raising bail money for those few that did get arrested. So they are pro-violence and pro-riots, which makes them necessarily anti-business. What else is there? He set up the reporting system during COVID, so you can report on your neighbors.
Snitch on your neighbor hotline.
Yes. Remember that. That's literally what the Soviet Union did. That's what they do in North Korea. And I think one of the final key points is Tampon Tim, which is going to stick now that Hillary tweeted it. That was kind of stupid of her.
That really was. She's given us so many gifts.
Yeah, she really thought it was a good idea to make Tampon Tim stick. He put tampons in boys' restrooms in public schools. Not him personally, obviously, but actually maybe.
Possibly. He approved this, though.
Yes, he approved
And again, this is, we're supposed to be the weird ones. You're talking about some of the wildest social experimentation and agenda on the most innocent among us. You're part and parcel to that, pushing it. This guy's so far outside even mainstream liberals in America, because there's a lot of folks out there in the middle who, sure, fine, people can marry who they want and blah, 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 blah. But kids, like that's pretty common still, even for people with whom I disagree on so many things. That one crosses a line for a lot of people. This guy's one of the ones, not just complicit with it, but pushing it, running the agenda, at least in his state.
Right. So what we want you to remember and remind people of, he's a coward. He's pro-riots, he's pro-trans and kids, and he's anti-free speech.
We've got to be laser focused on these things as we talk to people, because this is, I believe, and again, I think electorally, this is a gift. If the Trump campaign uses it correctly and stays on target, this is a gift, because these are two very lacking in any kind of credibility candidates. They could have picked so many more people who would have potentially been palatable and stolen away a lot of our talking points, but now they're gifting them to us. We must use them.
Yep.
Second up, the other big thing that you maybe haven't heard about this week, turns out Elon Musk buying Twitter has actually turned into a pretty decent thing. Because what we wondered for a while, is Elon Musk all that, or is this just a business deal and we're going to get thrown under the bus because he doesn't really have a commitment to free speech? I don't know about the free speech part, but Elon definitely has, I would say at this point, a commitment to destroying the establishment of big tech.
Well,
or at least
destroying-
breaking up the monopoly.
He wants to destroy wokeness,
yes.
and he recognizes that
well,
wokeness festers here.
Yes, and actually, I will say, any doubts that if I had any doubts left about Elon Musk's true believer status in at least some of our concerns on the right, his interview with Jordan Peterson was very long but very good. It had one key point though. He talked about his son, who he lost to what he calls the woke mind virus, and how literally the left, the woke agenda, they killed his son and replaced him with someone who has rejected his entire reality, who I am, who I'm related to, my family, my father, everything. You can tell the real hurt that is there. He understands now what's being done to people, to families, to children. But then he even goes so far as to say, I don't know about being a Christian. I guess I'm a cultural Christian because I believe in these. I want these people in charge. And it was a very interesting, revealing interview. Elon Musk understands who the enemy is. He may not have all the right answers, but he knows who the enemy is. And he's doing something about part of that.
Yep.
Lawsuit.
If you're watching us on Rumble right now, or if you follow us on X, you're on the two platforms that have teamed up to go after the this cabal, I guess you could call it, or I forgot whatever the word is that they use in economics when there's a whole group of people that are teaming up to stifle competition. But that's exactly what's going on here.
Right.
A cabal or something like that. It's another C word. Anyways, yeah. So the
I was just gonna let you dry, let you hang out to dry there.
Well, he's going after GARM, GARM, which is the Global Alliance for Responsible Media, and this organization, which is related to a bunch of other organizations like big corporations, including Alphabet, Google, which also had a big blow dealt against it in the antitrust case going against them right now.
Very much. I was about to say,
this week.
as a side note there, Georgia, just so we don't have to dwell on it, Georgia ruled in a very big, a landmark antitrust case that Google was in fact a monopolist in relevant markets, and they have unlawfully used their dominant position to sustain its monopoly. Now, we could go into how the government created the Google monopoly, which I have a very big, I believe that's accurate, but this is big. That just happened this week, August 5. A U.S. Department of Justice lengthy battle and a coalition of state attorneys general. This is big. Google has been now labeled officially by a federal judge a monopoly that has unlawfully used its dominant position to sustain itself as a monopoly. This is big. What it means, what gets done about it, I don't know. But the fact that it's been recognized that way officially for the first time, you could go into this case more, but that's big top line. That gives us a big baddie officially labeled so by a federal court as a monopoly, and an unlawful one at that. So now what do we do from here?
Yeah. So to read Linda Yaccarino posted an article on X.com that Musk reposted. I don't exactly know what her position is in X, but she works for X.
She's the CEO.
Oh, she is.
She is, and actually, she posted a little video. It's just a couple of minutes long. Do we want her to explain it and not us?
Go.
Let's have her explain it and not us, and then we'll come back and give you a few bits of commentary, and we'll go from there.
Hey, everybody. I was shocked by the evidence uncovered by the House Judiciary Committee that a group of companies organized a systematic illegal boycott against X. It is just wrong, and that is why we are taking action. Today, we filed an antitrust lawsuit against the Global Alliance for Responsible Media, 4 of its key members, and the World Federation of Advertisers. These organizations targeted our company and you, our users. The evidence and facts are on our side. They conspired to boycott X, which threatens our ability to thrive in the future. That puts your global town square, the one place that you can express yourself freely and openly, at long-term risk. People are hurt when the marketplace of ideas is constricted. No small group of people should be able to monopolize what gets monetized. This group is no match for the power of our users. All of you, the very same users that have driven usage of X to all-time highs. I joined X because I believe in the power of the global town square. It's users like you, people of all backgrounds and opinions, who make X indispensable. You deserve an open platform where your views can be expressed without restriction and without fear. To all of you who have been part of this transformative journey that we're on, thank you. Rest assured, X has never been more committed to innovating and expanding all of our global town square.
Oh, so there you go. I mean, this is, and make no mistake, she's no conservative. She came out of, didn't she come out of like news media somewhere? I forget exactly where. No, or if it was maybe the publishing side, I forget.
Not sure.
She came out of the media world. She's no conservative. But what I see here, and I mean, you could always just say, oh, she's a mouthpiece. She doesn't believe it. I don't know, but she's saying it. She's saying it. What they're talking about, though, going after the GARM, the Global Alliance for Responsible Media, this is the specific censorship attack of advertisers from the advertising end trying to pull down and destroy markets like X, who decide to revoke this whole, and as we've gone into with Meta and Facebook, government, DOJ, FBI, kind of massaging the, well, here's what we would really like you all to censor and shadow and not talk about, flag, put a warning, all of that stuff. When Elon says, yeah, we're not going to do that anymore, which of course he's not just free speech. They have their limits too, and he talks about throttling people and different things. Mm-hmm. Still, open it up a little bit and just say, no, I'm not going to do that. The GARM world of businesses immediately moved into the advertisement threats against Elon Musk and X. And that's specific. This is what this is going after. Mm-hmm. So it's, they're not necessarily, I say, suing Google. They're not suing Google directly. But they really are going after some of the big boys that brought in the advertising dollars of, if you're not going to say or restrict what we do or don't think you should say or restrict, mm-hmm. then we're going to hit you with advertisers leaving, disappearing, this and that. And the coordinated way in which it happened, that's basically what this is coming down about, and leaving that marketplace open.
Yeah.
So Elon tweeted as soon as it was out, he tweeted the open letter from their CEO, and he said, we tried peace for 2 years, now it is war. And then he came back with a commentary throughout the day about how I strongly encourage any company who has been systematically boycotted by advertisers to file a lawsuit. There may also be criminal liability via the RICO Act. So, I mean, this is one of the big reasons why I think big tech, other large corporations, didn't want Elon Musk taking over X. And even then they tried to take the platform down, because this leads to even the slightest shred of transparency and accountability comes, and their whole world gets revealed. Mm-hmm. And that's what's happening. That's what's happening.
Yeah. So I now realize why I thought that they were suing Google. It's because, so Elon and Chris Pavlovsky, the CEO of Rumble, are teaming up on this. So, and what Chris posted on X yesterday, or 2 days ago, is mm-hmm. Google just found out that they can rig the search market to exclude their can't rig the search market to exclude their competitors anymore, and soon a cabal of advertisers and agencies will find out they can't arbitrarily engineer a boycott of Rumble and X. We've joined X to sue them, so I took that to mean they were suing Google.
Well, and
which kind of, I mean,
come on, Alphabet is one of the big parts of the Global Alliance of responsible media. Mm-hmm. Google is the big baddie here. Google just got hit with the antitrust ruling this week. Mm-hmm. Google is the front man, boogeyman, but there's so many more behind it. So total moment of pure honesty, I put that X was suing Google because of clicks and views and hits, and that's fine, because it's not untrue, even though it is a little bit more specific than that.
Google will play into things.
Google will absolutely play into things. So, I mean, a couple of things. This tells me that Elon Musk really is a believer in accountability and free speech, mm-hmm. at least to a good extent. Maybe not identical to you and me. Obviously doesn't have all the same beliefs as you and me, but these ones I think are genuinely held, because they're now entering a very expensive endeavor to hold people accountable, who, to his point, used advertiser boycotts to try to destroy marketplaces that wanted to open up when it came to COVID and the woke agenda and a few things. You wanted to open up? No, we're going to target you with boycotts and shut you down or make you bend the knee. Elon didn't bend the knee, and now he's suing them to make more of it public.
Well, he's and
wow.
I don't think it's purely ideological either. I mean, I think Elon is a fantastic businessman.
Right.
That has good instincts and is always determined to get his way and to accomplish what he wants to accomplish. Because I remember a few months ago, or maybe about a year ago, after he had first bought X, that he had that interview where he was like, F the advertisers, F Disney, or whatever he said.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, oh my goodness, how can he say this? Like, they're going to leave his website. But he didn't focus on appealing to the advertisers. He focused on making a website that was appealing to the advertisers by creating the best market to advertise on, which is why all these people that initially left came crawling back. But those ones bound up in GARM were thinking, okay, well, we all have this agreement, and so if we have this non-compete agreement with one another in this like advertising space, because think about it this way: if you got two companies and one is like, I'm not going to advertise on X, you think, okay, well then that's more ad space for me to get on X. But if they both agree with one another, then what's going to happen is that word is just on the tip of my tongue. I'm still hung up on that word. Whatever it is, when companies get together and monopolize together, it's often to raise prices. Holy crap. Anyways.
And you're not looking for the word cabal.
Not looking for the word cabal.
Okay. Well, as you're talking, I can double check us here. You're completely well. Let me say this. Have you already done a basic? Did you go to thesaurus.com? Did you try Cabal and Thesaurus?
No, I've been on the live stream.
Okay,
I'm gonna figure it out.
Well, let me say, while you figure it out, because we're going to wind it down here, let me say this. I agree with you that I don't know if really this is ideological for Elon Musk. It's a business thing. Let me say, though, his business senses are free market in this way. No, I'm going to do what I think is best and profitable. Stop telling me what to do. I don't want to participate in your quid pro quo favor service with the government, because if I behave like a good boy, you'll give me my slice of the pie. I will take the slice that I want, thank you very much. Go away. That kind of free market economics, it is ideological for some of us. And that's what he chooses to participate in. So this may not be some sort of ideological pro-free speech movement for him, but I would tend to say his commitment to the marketplace that he wants, which is, I'm going to prove I'm better than everyone else. Cartel!
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know what you were going for.
Yeah.
Okay, I would have cabal, cartel.
That's the term in economics.
Okay, that's the economic term specifically. Okay, see, I don't have the economics background, so I wouldn't have thought of that word specifically. But there you go. Yeah, sure. Cartel. I
didn't
totally
even find
knew
it
that.
on the internet.
I
just came back to me.
totally knew that. But no, I would tend to say it may not be ideological for him per se. It's a market-based thing. But his version of market economics and entrepreneurship and the innovation side of, no, I will do it. I'm not going to play your game. That's pretty purely American to me in a certain sense, and it is part of our ideology as Americans. That kind of market system, I think. So, looking at it, I mean, it's a I think that's a big deal. That this is a big deal. That tells me there's more than I would have sometimes maybe doubted that this commitment to the idea of free speech, free markets, but it's apparently there. So this has just begun. Not a whole lot more to talk about, but there you go. Elon Musk suing not just Google, but a whole alliance of people, the Global Association, Global Alliance for Responsible Media, GARM. GARM, not Garmin. Don't throw your, well, you can because it's connected to a satellite. If you want to throw out your GPS, you can, but it's not Garmin. GARM. There you go. So I think that's about it for today.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk real quick and remind you folks, first of all, go to unauthorizedcaucus.com, subscribe to the Substack, subscribe to our Rumble. You will get it. You'll get the notifications, everything you want. But, of course, don't forget to go to our wonderful sponsor. We usually do it midway through, but this is a short episode today. TRexInc.com is where you can get great apparel, great mugs, lots of stuff in the pipeline coming down. Someone's just in the Rumble chat talking about their awesome t-shirt they got from them. I've been wearing my T-Rex Inc. t-shirts, loving it. Go to TRexInc.com. Use Caucus30 as your promo code. You will get the biggest savings that you could possibly get across their site, and it lets them know that we sent you and thanks them for supporting Unauthorized Caucus. We appreciate them so much for sponsoring the program and for letting us come to you each and every week. Like we've said, we have lots of plans for different things, bigger and better, because as the marketplaces just continues to be saturated by news and by headlines. We need truth out of that information more than ever, and that requires an opportunity to talk to people like us who we get our heads in this every day, but also we can then all talk together and distill this down. But what's that mean? Like, I know I don't like Tim Walz or Kamala Harris, but how do I tell that to people? We can talk about that here, and we can talk about that here because T-Rex Inc. supports us and makes sure that we can do it every single week. Thank them. Go to trexinc.com. Use Caucus 30 and get yourself some cool stuff.
Some very cool swag.
It's some very, very cool swag because they really are. It's pretty killer. Their shirts have gotten so much cool notice. The Legend shirt with Trump fist in the air, the Teddy Roosevelt shirt. I had someone buy the shirt the other day when they saw it. They got on and bought it right then, and I was like, yeah, they're sponsor of a podcast I'm on. Here they are. I'm going to go get one, and the order went through right there because they thought it was just so awesome. It really
and
is.
Even in the live chat, one of our viewers is talking about how she is wearing her Secret Service Training Department shirt today.
Oh my gosh, I love that. The cow on the roof. If there was ever something just fantastically stupid that turned into a meme that was amazing, it was that.
Yep.
The cow on the roof. Oh boy. Well, there you go. That is it for us for today. Go to unauthorizedcaucus.com. Go to trexinc.com. Say thanks with the promo code Caucus30. Subscribe. Like, share, send it along to people.
Hit the green button.
Hit the green button, the big green button on Rumble, on the big green awesome monster of truth and free speech. And then I guess keep an eye out next week. No episode, no live stream necessarily, but you never know what we might do. We might get a wild hair while we're sitting out in New Jersey at the conference. So you want to make sure you're subscribed at unauthorizedcaucus.com because you never know when we're going to do something wild. So until then, we'll talk to you in 2 weeks, maybe next week. Hint, hint. In 2 weeks. It'll be Thursday. It'll be noon.
It'll be caucus time.
Have a good week, everybody.